the dawn of the 20th century, Russia was a land of revolution, conflict, and dreams of change. Amidst the chaos rose one of history's most formidable and feared leaders, Joseph Stalin. How did this man, born a shoemaker's son in Georgia, go from political obscurity to become the iron-fisted ruler of the Soviet Union? Stalin didn't exactly have the makings of a future dictator at first. Born Iosif Vissarionis Dzejuhashvili in Gori, Georgia, he grew up poor but ambitious. Inspired by the socialist ideas sweeping Europe, he joined the Bolshevik Party, which aimed to overthrow the Tsarist regime and bring about a communist revolution. Early on, Stalin's role in the revolution was fairly low profile. He was known more for his ruthless efficiency, organizing bank heists and raising funds for the Bolshevik cause. But it was his persistence, adaptability, and a talent for ruthless networking that would soon set him apart. In 1917, the Russian Revolution swept away centuries of Tsarist rule, and the Bolsheviks took control. Lenin appointed Stalin as Commissar for Nationalities, a role that allowed Stalin to consolidate control over the outlying republics. His reputation for being tough, strategic, and merciless grew. While Lenin led the Bolshevik Party, Trotsky emerged as the charismatic general, and others seemed poised for power. Stalin, however, took a more understated route, quietly building alliances within the party structure, becoming known as a dependable, if ruthless, administrator. By 1922, Lenin's health was failing. Seeing an opportunity, Stalin maneuvered himself into the newly created role of General Secretary of the Communist Party, a position that might have seemed administrative, but granted him control over party appointments and loyalty. Lenin grew wary of Stalin's growing influence. In what would be known as his testament, he warned his comrades about Stalin's harshness, and even suggested removing him from his position. But by the time Lenin died in 1924, Stalin's web of influence was already too entrenched for easy removal. With Lenin gone, the race for control began. Stalin's greatest rival was Trotsky, a brilliant but outspoken military leader. Through a combination of alliances and backstabbing, Stalin outmaneuvered Trotsky and his other rivals like Zinoviev and Kamenev, aligning himself with the right factions at critical moments. Stalin systematically expelled Trotsky and others from positions of influence. Trotsky was eventually forced into exile, chased all the way to Mexico, where he was assassinated in 1940. By the late 1920s, Stalin had consolidated complete control of the Soviet Union. Stalin's grip on power was absolute, but his paranoia grew. The 1930s saw the infamous Great Purges, where Stalin used the NKVD secret police to eliminate anyone he perceived as a threat. Thousands of army officers, party members, and ordinary citizens were accused of treason, tortured, and executed. The show trials became Stalin's tool of fear. Former allies were publicly denounced, humiliated, and often executed. Even those closest to Stalin weren't safe. He famously had his right-hand man, Nikolai Yezhov, purged after he had served as the brutal head of the NKVD during some of the darkest years. The purges devastated Soviet society, weakening its military leadership right before World War II and creating a pervasive culture of fear. But Stalin had successfully eliminated nearly all potential rivals, cementing his totalitarian rule over the Soviet Union. With no rivals left, Stalin cultivated a personality cult, presenting himself as the father of nations and the great helmsman. Soviet propaganda glorified his every action, painting him as the infallible leader who had saved the country. Soviet citizens were taught to see Stalin as a near-godlike figure. His face appeared everywhere, and his word was considered law. Underneath this image, however, lay a leader who ruled through intimidation, surveillance, and brutality. World War II brought Stalin face-to-face with his greatest enemy yet, Nazi Germany. After initially signing a non-aggression pact with Hitler, Stalin was caught off guard by the 1941 German invasion. Yet, under his command, the Red Army eventually pushed back, with the Soviet Union bearing the brunt of casualties in the war. Victory in 1945 cemented Stalin's place as a national hero, despite the enormous human cost of his policies. Millions died under his purges, famines, and wartime strategies. Yet by the end of World War II, the Soviet Union was a superpower, and Stalin was its undisputed leader. Joseph Stalin ruled the Soviet Union with an iron fist until his death in 1953. His leadership left a complex and terrifying legacy. On one hand, he industrialized and modernized a struggling nation. On the other, he brutalized his own people, creating one of history's most oppressive regimes. Stalin's rule remains a chilling reminder of what happens when absolute power falls into the hands of a single individual. His reign of terror shaped the Soviet Union's trajectory for decades, casting a shadow over Russia that lingers even today. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history's darker chapters. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know. What do you think was Stalin's biggest impact on the Soviet Union?